We know that there's a rainbow of colors on this planet. And there's a couple of reasons that sort of come together to give us the particular shade that we have. There's definitely genetics. It turns out that there's something like 15 or 20 different genes that regulate what color your skin has. And basically they go ahead and tell a cell called melatonin to produce more of this certain substance called melanin or less melanin. There are other pigments that are involved, like keratin, which comes a little bit from diet, and then hemoglobin, which is a component of blood, and they all come together to sort of give you a specific shade and color. Melanin is the first one. It kind of gives us that reddish sort of yellow-brown color that we have. They're produced by these melanocytes. Remember, cytes always means it's making something, and this is making melanin. All humans have about the same number of melanocytes, but depending on what genes you have, you're going to produce more melanin or less melanin, and it's really dictated by where you live. So if your original country of origin was closer to the equator, you needed to protect your skin, so your skin is a little darker in color, and it was to basically deflect a lot of that sunlight. If you lived closer to the poles, you were going to have lighter skin color, and that was because skin is really designed to pick up sunlight. We need it to make vitamins, and at the top of near the equators, we need to get that sunlight in to help us make those specific vitamins. The skin color difference is basically the amount of melanin. Sun tanning is the exposure to skin, and we start to darken up our skin because of it, and then we can have localized freckles or moles. And you could see with this girl, she has a whole bunch of these little freckles everywhere, and those are localized areas that are producing a high amount of melanin, and that's what's giving her this tone or dots everywhere. Keratin is a yellow and orange pigment. It's obtained in diet. There's a few foods that have them, but carrots are definitely one of them. Egg yolks, sweet potatoes, anything that's usually a reddish or kind of an orangey color will have certain amounts of these. They accumulate in that outer layer of our skin, the stratum corneum, and the hypodermis. And because of that, that gives us sort of a yellowish orange pigment. So what happens is we bring it to the surface. With the sunlight, it gets turned into vitamin A, and we need it because we need it for vision and things like that, but too much of it will give us a weird yellow-orange pigment. Hemoglobin. We know that we get hemoglobin. It's one of the necessary components for red blood cell. Each red blood cell has 250 hemoglobin molecules in it per red blood cell, but we have a lot of it. So what we do is there are some produced in the skin, or that are hidden in the skin, and Caucasians, usually people with lighter skin, have a pinker color because they have less melanin and you get to see the hemoglobin, and then with darker skinned people you have less. There are some abnormalities with skin pigmentation, and there's a ton of them. I'm only going to cover a couple. First one is jaundice. Jaundice is just the yellowing of the skin. What happens is bile gets from the liver, so your liver makes bile, and it stores it in the gallbladder. And it's supposed to go into the small intestines in small doses. But if it gets into the bloodstream accidentally, you'll end up having this thing called jaundice, which is a yellow color. It's because the liver and the gallbladder are not working correctly, and it's pumping that stuff into the red blood cells, into the capillaries, and it's moving around the body. You'll notice it because the skin will turn yellow, the eyes will start to have a yellow haze, and that's an indication that something has to be done right away and there's a liver problem. If you let this keep going and going, what ends up happening is the pH the blood changes, and eventually you'll die. We have erythema, which is basically a reddish of the skin. This could be from a lot of different things. This could be from inflammation or allergies. So we have capillaries that are in our skin, and as they start to get inflamed, they turn red. And this is a process that can be controlled by these certain blood cells called histamine, and they release a chemical that make it so your blood will start to rush to the surface and give you that flush. You have it as a fever too. There, what's happening is your body is working like a radiator and basically moving blood as close to the skin as possible to get rid of some heat. And then, of course, blushing when something embarrassing happens. That's just a reaction that occurs at the localized skin layers. And then the last one, cyanosis, is a blue or lack of oxygen. And basically what happens is now red blood cells start to move inwards, and you're seeing that blue color because the heart or the lungs aren't able to keep up with the body's demands, and that's what you're seeing. You'll even see that when the body gets cold. It's starting to pull the blood inwards so it can keep its radiant heat inside instead of outside.